This is a perfect entree for our next speaker. So what I'd like to do is say thank you all very much for your time, your answers, and your hard work. As they exit the stage, I'd just like to say, I think we heard a lot of things during this conversation about the value of regionalism, collaboration, innovation, and kinda working out of our lanes. And as I introduce our next speaker, I want you to know that she brings the whole package when it comes to regionalism. She led our Regional Transportation Commission for a very long time. She worked at our airport for a very long time, 30 years in public service. She knows the insides, the outsides, the relationships, and the partnerships that are necessary from an infrastructure, community building, innovative partnership perspective, better than pretty much anybody I know. Her name is Tina Quigley. Come on up here. She is an asset to our community.
Thank you.
And we grabbed her at the LVGEA to lead up our next chapter in our history as we address these challenges in our community and take full advantage of these opportunities. And if anybody can do it, it's this lady right here. So welcome to the stage, Tina Quigley.
Thank you. I cannot tell you how excited I have spent a lot of time with you out there. And so, first of all, no applause for me. I haven't earned it yet, okay? I'm only on the job for 3 weeks, but very excited to be here. And one of the reasons is this board. I feel so blessed to be able to work with Betsy and the executive team and the members of the board, because these are people who aren't in it for investing in short-term wins for our community. These people see the long-term, 20-year game, and that's exactly why it feels so comfortable for me to be in this position. All right, so I told you to hold that applause for me because I haven't earned it yet, but before I go too far, I want to go ahead and recognize somebody who does earn this applause, because there's been a few months gap between when Jonas Peterson left, the former president and CEO of LVGEA, and I came in, and our COO, Jared Smith. Jared, if you could stand up, please. And, I need the, am I doing this right? Oh, shoot, no, gotta go back. So, Jared, thank you so much. He has been doing both jobs, and at the same time, he's been one of the lead coordinators on this very big grant that you've been hearing about, that $75 million, actually up to $77 million now, grant that we are competing for federal money to invest in infrastructure and workforce training projects here. He's been completely overworked, and I just want to make sure you may be overworked, but you are appreciated, so thank you. All right, so now we are going to, 3 weeks into the job, and, like Betsy said, I've been here for a lot of years, and so I kind of figured, I know all things Southern Nevada. But when I came on board and started having conversations with the team and a lot of you in the room, I learned that there's a lot of things that I don't know, and some things kind of surprised me. So we're going to play a game of fact or myth. And I am going to call on some of you in the audience, some of you who I saw this morning. I swear it's super easy, but it'll be fun. So, fact versus myth. And our first one I am going to throw out to Peter Guzman. Peter, where are you? Peter Guzman. Fact or myth? Southern Nevada has significantly diversified its economy over the past 10 years. Really, you just sat up here and we saw Michael Brown show us some numbers, but I like your spunk. You're just trying to debate with me, so. So no, it's myth, but thank you. I'm glad I tricked you. I'm glad I tricked you on that. So no, this is the Hatchman Diversity Index, and Director Brown mentioned this today, and we've been pretty steady over the past 10 years. Not a lot of increase, generally in the high 60s. You'll see a big jump there around 2000. That is not because all of a sudden we diversified our economy. It is because the number of jobs in the travel and leisure sector dropped, so the rest of the pie kind of increased. And to follow up with a So the higher the number, the more diverse. Follow up with the same graphic that Director Brown showed you. This is the Hatchman Index compared to other states. And you'll see, mine might be a little bit, Director Brown had more current information than me, but we are ranking down there in the lowest of the United States. I think there are 7 states that are lower than us. But what's interesting to take a look at is that those states that surround us have significantly higher diversity numbers, which means that we have a lot to learn from them. It also means that we probably are geographically located, that we can start to capitalize on our assets. Just a matter, again, as Betsy mentioned, is really starting to work as a region to identify what those assets are and then just go out and market them and attract the businesses as appropriate. All right, question number 2. Let's see, Yolanda King, I saw you earlier. At the historical development pace, meaning the pace of development we've had, Southern Nevada has 20 years of effective land available, or 20 years of inventory available. Fact or myth? You are correct, because you know what? Yeah, she wins. Not like Peter. I'm just kidding. Peter, he teases me, so it's only fair. Fact, less than 15 years of land available here in Southern Nevada. Something we really need to be thinking of, and our panel did talk about that. It is on their minds. All right, Dan Tutland, I know I saw you earlier this morning. Where are you? Are you still here? Dan Tutland, tell me. So Dan, this is kind of a softball. He's in the commercial real estate industry. Available land for industrial development is one of our region's greatest assets.
Fact, but we have a scarcity of land.
Ooh, that was well done. Brian Gordon, who helped me put these slides together, let's keep that in mind, that people can get tricky with their answers. So it actually is, yes, he is right. It is a scarcity. And I want to show you a couple slides that will, I hope, startle you a bit. And again, I think Jeremy Aguero has used these in the past, but I'm recycling them. This is the industrial land that is developed here in Southern Nevada. And this is the industrial land that is vacant or available for development in Southern Nevada. Now, we don't have Gene, we don't have Apex on here, but I use this simply to drive home a point that we do have some scarcity issues that we're going to need to start addressing. I know we are addressing, and we'll talk more about that. Okay, who can I give this one to? I wrote down some names of people. Clark. Oh, he's one of my bosses. He's our vice. Clark Wood. Where are you? All right. He's the vice chair, so he's with U.S. Bank and he's vice chair of the LVGEA. So, a beverage bottling plant can consume the water equivalent of 1 golf course annually. Well, I tricked you. I shouldn't do that to a boss, huh? It is myth because it actually is not 1, but 2 golf courses worth of annual allotment a year annually. Now, I called Dave Johnson this morning, who's with Southern Nevada Water Authority, because I had to get clarification on this. I said, so when you say consumes that water, do you mean like the water is consumed and not put back into Lake Mead, like it's really just gone? And he said, well, that depends. This is my favorite. That depends on whether or not the bottles with liquid in them were sold locally or whether they were moved outside of the state. So I'll give you a minute to think about that. Isn't that fun? That's my favorite, it's fact. Okay, do we have, Frank Woodbeck, also one of my bosses. Here's a question for you, and I have to be, this one's a little bit of a softball, Frank, because not only is he one of my bosses, he's also head of the compensation committee for the LVGEA, so. The Southern Nevada Water Authority's credit rating by S&P, Standard & Poor, is AA stable, and our community's 50-year resource plan and conservation efforts are among the most progressive in the world. Hey, don't help him. Frank? I can't see. Well, yes, you are right, it is fact. We actually are recognized, and we don't get a lot of media on this or a lot of headlines on it, But we actually are recognized at a global level for having the most secure water plan in the United States, or actually in the world. So kudos to John Ensminger and the team on that. Even though we talk about the water scarcity issues and we do have them, rest assured we're not withering up and dying quite yet. We got very secure water conservation plan. And that's the backup to it. That first line is that S&P raised its issuer credit rating from AA- to A+, and that is due to their aggressive plan. All right, Nevada's average electrical retail price is 23% lower than the national average. And Ken Evans. Fact or fiction? Nobody help him. That is a fact. And I know that, yay, Ken! I know NV Energy is probably always publishing it, but it wasn't until I really took this job and started looking into how we compare to other regions that I paid attention to this statistic. We are 23% lower than the national average. That is a fact. And to let you know, we are 11% lower than the surrounding states, except for California. We are 56% lower than them. So certainly a competitive advantage for us when we're going out and diversifying and growing our economy. All right, I am going to give this one to MJ Maynard. Yay, CEO. Okay, are you ready? Pressure's on. Unemployed workers in Southern Nevada are well positioned to help companies expand and relocate. Well, it is. And I'll tell you about it. It is a myth. But this is one where Dan Tentland would be helpful too in kind of recrafting the answer. Yes, we are so lucky that we have got, well, it is a competitive advantage to us that we have got a lot of unemployed. We have the bodies here in Southern Nevada, whereas Phoenix, Salt Lake are struggling to find bodies to fill jobs. Where we are challenged at this point is making sure that those bodies are properly trained to meet the needs of the companies coming in. And we do, to that extent, there's so much to unpack here. And as you heard from the panel today and from Director Brown, workforce is the buzzword right now. And there are so many initiatives and efforts that are going on. And this workforce development blueprint document that we've been working with several partners on here in Southern Nevada will be unveiled here probably before the end of the month. And it is truly a plan and has recommendations in it for how we go about harnessing the labor force that we've got here, the potential labor force, and getting them trained. Lots to unpack, and I am thinking to my team that we had talked about whether or not we should do a webinar related to the unveiling of this. And based on some of the comments, does that mean I got to wrap up? I am thinking that we probably do want to do it. It seems to be an interest in doing that, so. All right, next question. Who have I not gotten yet? Ooh, I'm gonna do Jaime. Jaime Cruz, Head of Workforce Connections. Okay, Jaime, new jobs to Southern Nevada in 2021 exceeded those in 2019. So during pandemic year, exceeded pre-pandemic year. Fact or fiction? No. You are correct. That is a fact. Yeah. A few caveats. I'll clarify. It is those we're calculating jobs that came through the LVGEAs, the conduit for tax incentives. Those are the jobs that we're talking about right now. And I do have to give credit out to all of the panel that you saw up here. They are the economic development officers of their districts, their jurisdictions, and they are finding these companies along. I got to give credit out to NAOP and commercial real estate brokers who are constantly out there looking for companies who want to move here. So in 2019, we had 21 companies, 3,800 jobs. And last year, during the pandemic, we had 39 companies and 6,200 jobs. And our average wage increased. So That is absolutely amazing. In my short time here, one of the things that I've learned is the principle of economic development success are based on two things. One is that you have got to have you've got to have workforce, but then you've also got to have wages that are increasing associated with that workforce so that you continue to grow the economy. So, all right, last one. I'm going to give this one I saved for my friend Mary Beth Seawald from Vegas Chamber. In spite of our challenges, Southern Nevada continues to grow. No! Yes, I'm going to say fact too, and there's so much to unpack with that. There's so much to unpack. We have continued to grow. Showed you the numbers, but this isn't the forum for doing that. We're at our perspective event in June. We will start to unpack why it is that we have grown and what the challenges are as we start to move forward, where we need to be focused in a lot more detail. We have data and statistics to share with you. But I want to, as I close, I know I got 2 minutes, that data and statistics, when we do go to review it with you and share why we have grown, it will never show some very important components as to why we have been resilient, why we've been able to grow. So I'm going to show you some people who we all owe a ton of thanks to because they built the infrastructure that allowed us to grow despite the fact that we were hit with some of the most unprecedented economic blows to this economy. It was their vision and foresight and frankly balls that allowed us to keep going and grow the economy. So the first, and I don't care whether you like these people or not, I'm not sure I like all of them, but we still owe them we still owe them a huge thank you. And one is Bruce Woodbury. It was because of Bruce Woodbury. Yeah, for those of you, I know he's been gone a while, but he's been out of public office for a while. But Bruce, in the 90s, he learned that if we ever wanted to have that beltway built, that we were going to have to do it ourselves. The federal government said, yes, we'll give you money, but you have to go through our 15-year environmental process. So he said, the heck with that. We are going to go ahead. He lobbied and championed for it was called Question 10, I think, back in the day, right? And it was a sales tax increase, which allowed us to build that Bruce Woodbury Beltway 15 years faster than we would have if we just relied on federal funds, which meant that allowed us to continue to grow and have access to land even during some very challenging economic times for us. So Bruce, I hope I'm not talking. Pat Mulroy, sometimes you love her, sometimes you hate her, right? But Pat, man, so here's the level of the water. Here's that first, and I'm simplifying. Here's the first pipe that comes in, and the water's like, she's like, oh, that pipe's not going to work. Let's build a second one. So we built a second one. You're like, oh man, that second straw is not going to work. She's like, here's what we're doing. We are tunneling under Lake Mead, and then we're popping up. We're going to get the cleanest, purest water from the bottom. The heck with all the rest of them downstream. We're getting ours. It was an $800 million project, probably more than that by the time it was done. But thanks to that third straw, we are able to continue to grow, and we have all prospered because of it. And then Randy Walker, again, love him or not. And these people, again, they don't care if you like them or not. They don't care. Randy made a pinky promise to the community that never, ever would the airport be the reason that the community couldn't continue to grow. Never, ever would the airport cap the travel and tourism industry or the rest of the growth or the freight operations. And so we have Terminal 3, we have the cargo center, and then he introduced the idea of the supplementary airport down in Jean. We used to call it the Ivanpah Airport. That is on hold now, but because of him, that land, and Senator Reid, that land is protected. So some amazing leaders. I know, okay, I'm almost done, I swear. Oh, I better just go. Okay, so next steps. So we're kind of at this tricky point, right, where you heard today, and I think I brought it up, highlighted in the slides, that we've got water issues, we've got land issues, we've got workforce issues, one that I haven't mentioned yet. So water and land are tough for us as a community to overcome. That's going to require innovation and some congressional action and some creativity. Workforce, we are working on right now. One I didn't mention today, and I want to throw it out, especially to the panel who was up here on the chairs, is that for us to stay competitive against those other regions, and we really need to take a look at the barricades to entry for companies who do want to relocate here. When a company, a larger one especially, wants to come here, they want to know that they can get up and running as soon as possible, that we can get the infrastructure to them, but also that our permitting processes are not extremely burdensome. And it did scare me a little bit, yeah, I know, it scared me a little bit to learn that Phoenix is onto that game too and is trying to really streamline their processes. So work is called out for us. Next steps, we're going to need leadership. We're going to need some balls. I know, I just like saying that out loud. But we've done it before, and we will do it again. And one of the things I want to leave on a note that very much excites me, this Build Back Better grant, which we have talked about, which is a regional grant. See all those logos on there? It's the first time all those logos have been on one grant application to the federal government. So. And I'm done. Look, 3 minutes over.